some cards. Who wants to read some cards? All right, bunch of cards. You've got Dominus Impulse. You can only activate one card with this name's per turn. If your opponent activates a card, you can activate this from your hand. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. If your opponent controls a card, you can activate this from your hand. So no, it's any card, much like the previous Dominus Purge. When a card or effect that includes an effect to special summons on monsters, negate that effect. Then if you have a trap in your graveyard, destroy that card. And if you activate this card from your hand, you can activate the effects of light, earth, and wind monsters for the rest of this duel. So the main things that this card is hitting is Max C if you're an OCG player, or Purin. I think Purin is like a water, actually. I don't know. You guys get the idea. I don't know. Let's just say like Ghost Spell or some shit like that. It's lights, which most notably hits Veiler and Ogre, and wind, which is mainly just Mourner. Shout out to the one Speedroid player that exists out there. I think this card is so broken. This card is so incredibly good relative to Purge, because not only is the archetype block so much less limiting, like there aren't that many light, earth, and wind archetypes relative to, you know, like dark, fire, water, that sort of stuff. It's mainly dark and fire, but additionally, cards that summon other cards are like the most broken mechanic ever in Yu-Gi-Oh! Think of stuff like Fadra, think of stuff like Branded Fusion, or Fadra Revive, or Bite It Revive, or like Sangan Kaiman. Wow, I really don't like Tenpai. Think of like just how many broken cards exist right now that includes some sort of effect to special summon a monster. Think of like Poplar add off a bonfire to special summon itself. Like, that's pretty relevant, as well as the fact that you can play this card in Labyrinth. Yippee! People are kind of already playing like Solemn Strike as this sort of kind of like good enough card to try and stop your opponent's plays. And although this isn't a counter trap, it is a normal trap. So this does synergize with Lovely. You could trigger Lady off of it. It will synergize with all your Labyrinth removal stuff. This card is nutter butters. I think this card is going to be one of the best cards ever seen. But I'm coming at this from like a Labyrinth perspective, so I'm probably like a little biased. Ragnarika Bleached Wisteria. That's a name. Special summon this monster as a normal monster, a plant dark level 4. This card is also still a trap. Then if you control a Ragnarika Link monster, you can banish up to 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard. I mean, sure. I guess it's a silhouette target. I mean, hey, we take it. You go into Silhouette in Ragnarika after already plant locked. Don't think too hard about it. During the end phase, its card is in your graveyard. You can shuffle 2 insect, plant, and or reptile monsters from your graveyard and banishment into the deck. And if you do, set this card. DD Crows, especially when they come in multiples, think of like the Shufflers or like Magical Musketeer Dancing Needle. It's very, very impactful. I don't think, especially now in a format where every single deck is doing some bullshit in the graveyard or has like some sort of massive floating, I don't think that a lot of us are being like, yeah, bro, but like DD Crow, is that really relevant? Like, this is a pretty relevant card. I'm just not sure it's what Ragnarika needs. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a card that solves Ragnarika issues. This isn't a card that makes the archetype like better. It just gives it like slightly more flexibility. Like, the main issue with like the Ragnarika cards is that like you are basically just praying to God your opponent doesn't know how to interact with your cards. Because if you actually look at like the Ragnarika combo, it's pretty fragile. Like, if you get hand trapped once on like your Sun Avalon Rika plays, you're basically being like, all right, I have no other plant extender. I'm just gonna make the Ragnarika Link 5 and maybe set a card. And then your opponent goes like normal summon Snake Eye Ash, and you're like, damn, well, we tried. But I think that like this card as a slightly more flexible option is good to have in the deck. But again, the deck already plays so many one-ofs and so many like consistency cards and pseudo bricks and main bricks. I just don't know if printing another end board piece is what Konami should be doing if they do want to fix this archetype. But maybe they don't want to fix it. Maybe they just want to make a silly little card. Now we got Lil Magi Mage. I mean, she has a hammer. That's cool. During the main phase, if this card is in your hand, you contribute 1 Cybers or Link monster as a quick effect. Special summon this card. Gains attack equal to the total Link radius of all Link monsters in your graveyard times 400. I mean, extender. That's kind of cool. It's good. Play around IMPERM. This is just Shavara, but for Cyberses, but I'm not sure Cyberses needed a Shavara, you know what I mean? Like, the main issue of Cybers wasn't that like, oh wow, like this deck had issues extending. The deck had issues with summoning cards. You know what I mean? The deck had an issue with summoning a meaningful end board that didn't lose to like 1 or 2 hand traps. You know what I mean? Like Cybers very much is this deck where you just kind of spin your wheels and like you summon 500 monsters. But because of like the extra deck locks, as well as like the archetypal locks and blah, 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 stuff like that, it really felt that like Cybers just wasn't worth. It just feels that Cybers is so much worth less playing compared to other combo decks. Sorry, Magi Mage. We got Flying Mary. It's like a boat. Water Link Zombie. 0 attack, because I guess boats can't attack anymore. You can target 1 level 5 or higher zombie monster in your graveyard or banishment. Place this card face up in your spell trap zone as a continuous spell, and if you do, special summon that monster. Okay, so this is just a monster reborn. If this card is a continuous spell, you can target 1 level 5 or higher zombie monster you control. Destroy 1 monster your opponent controls at equal or lower attack. Oh, okay, this is cute. This is cute. I kinda like this. It's like a monster reborn for stuff like Eldritch or Baylor Druck or Jiangshi or any of the higher level extenders. I think it's cool. I think this card isn't gonna make like zombies like amazing, you know. I think like the zombie issue is that the deck literally loses to any piece of graveyard hate ever printed. Like, have you read D Shifter? Have you read DD Crow? You guys think like Snake Eye loses to like a Ghost Bell on Flamberge? You have not seen a DD Crow on any zombie play ever. Like, I think this card's cool. I don't think it's gonna be broken, but this is kind of like SP Little Zombie, and I like that a lot. This SP Little Zombie with upside. Like, holy shit, have you read this card? It's awesome. We got Eos Varog, Forger of the Dawn. Level 7 Light Machine Fusion. Kinda looks familiar. I wonder. 2 Light Machines. If this card is fusion summoned, you can activate this effect during the standby at the next turn. Add 1 card from your graveyard to the hand with effect that fusion summons. Okay, so that's useless. I don't think any of us are gonna be like, wow, I can add back Power Bond Batches. Or anyone say like, wow, I can add back Super Poly. I mean, you can add back like Cartesia. Okay, maybe this card might actually be kind of funny. I'm not saying it's good, but you know, it's interesting. Then when your opponent activates a spell, trap card, or effect, just like in general, you can banish 1 Light Machine monster you control or 2 Light Machine monsters from your graveyard. Negate the activation. Okay, they made a negate, like, and that's cool. They made a spell trap negate for Cyber Dragon. I mean, it's interesting. I guess they could go first a little bit easier, and they now have like Infinity and now like Forger. I don't know. Is it me, or does this look so boring? Is it me, or is this just like one of the most boring cards I've ever read? Like, there's just nothing interesting regarding this card. It's just an Omni negate. What does this do? What does it accomplish? Is it Cyber Dragon support? Kinda. I don't know. This card might be good. I don't think it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be good in Cyber Dragon, but generic applications, probably not. All right, we got Final Bringer's Bellow. You can only activate 1 card with this names per turn. Target 1 monster card you control and 1 card your opponent controls. Destroy them. I think this card is pretty good. I don't think this card is gonna be like amazing. I don't think like people are gonna be slotting in fucking offerings to the doomed. But this is like one of those cards that has like enough going first and going second potential that I kind of do fuck with it. Like going first, this is almost like Called by the Grave. This is like Sharvara in the sense where you can just like pop your own card in order to like dodge an imperm. Like obviously it's not gonna be like goated versus effect veiler, but this is pretty relevant against very specific cards. Additionally, it's just like a good board breaker. Not a lot of monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh currently, fortunately, have like, outside of like, you know, Unchained and Snake Eye. Actually, a lot of monsters have destruction beneficiary effects, but I guess the ones that don't, that are part of like end board pieces like IP Masquerena, are pretty solid targets to pop with the Deacon Log. I'm a fan. He's a fan. I'm a big fan of this card. I think it's pretty interesting. The difficult thing about a card like this is that we're in a place where Yu-Gi-Oh kind of needs you to have either multiples of very low impact or very high impact cards or board breakers in order for them to see play in the format, just because of how fast the game has gone in terms of like how much starters do and like how hard you can extend. And like unfortunately, like Deacon Luge, it's not a hand trap. You can't activate it like if your opponent controls a card for free. It's not like a runic spell in that regards. It's just like a very generic board breaker. And if we were back in like pre Snake Eye format, I think like during Rescue Ace format, I think this card would actually be like very, very, very good. But I just think like right now, this is just like not the time for it. I think like right now, this is just just a card that is definitely going to see some experimentation, but I don't think it's going to be a card that's going to see like, you know, massive widespread play. At best, it's going to be a tech card, and even that's being very generous, at least for this format that we're in right now. All right, we got some more goblin cards too. Badass Goblin Riders. If you control no monsters, you can normal summon this card without attributing. If this is normal special summon, you can special summon one level 4 or lower goblin monster from your deck. Jesus Christ, they really just printed E-Telly on a monster, huh? If this card is sent to the graveyard as a material, you can target one card of the field, attach it to your goblin XY. What the fuck? It's just, so this card is a free normal. This card sets up 4s and 6s for your goblin rider plays. Well, it sets up three 4s and 6s. And it's also just removal. So this is like the most broken card of all time, right? Imagine Snake Eye Ash had that effect. I mean, it kind of does. I guess like going into a Flamberge is pretty good. Goblin Rider Grand Imprisonment. Tribute one monster, special summon one goblin monster from your deck, but it cannot attack this turn. Wow, I wonder what we could be summoning. Tribute, when a monster declares an attack, you could banish this card from your graveyard and detach any number of materials or goblin XYZ monsters you control. All your opponent's monsters currently lose 1,000 attack for each material detached until the end of this turn. Wow, that's so fucked. All right, so you're telling me that we can now dodge IMPERM to go into Badass Goblin Riders, do our entire like setup combo, and then when we declare an attack, we're just like, yeah, detach everything, drain your whole board, fucking like Despia style. What are you gonna do about it, liberal? Pretty good. Goblin Rider Grand Crisis. Are they facing a 2008 economic recession on motorcycles? You can target one goblin monster your opponent controls, or one goblin monster in your graveyard and one monster in your opponent's graveyard. Banish both. Okay, so it's like either banish 2 on field or banish 2 from grave. That's pretty good. Modal removal is always super duper impactful, especially when it's recursive like this. Like continuous traps are like the most broken types of cards. Oh boy, I'm not even joking. I think I need to buy a Goblin Core. This deck might be good. This deck might be a little nasty. We're deleting Venezuela tonight. The goblins are taking over. The goblins are truly about to take over Venezuela. I mean, every single one of these cards seems so fucking good. Like, this is an archetype where you can kind of tell it's not like a great archetype. It's not an archetype that they're gonna try and see as like this super duper meta thing, and it's gonna be like the greatest card of all time. But like, this is a very, very, very good archetype. You know what I mean? Nobody has any delusions. And finally, unseal the true potential of Tenpai with Sangen Furrow. You can only use the second card. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Once per turn, when a monster is destroyed by battle involving your fighter dragon monster, you can target one of those destroyed monsters, special summon it to your field in defense position. And during your opponent's end phase, you can pay 1,000 life points to target one Sangen spell trap in your graveyard. Set it, but banish it when it leaves the field. So this card is like, I think everyone, when this card was revealed, is like, yeah, I don't think this card is gonna be very good. And that's because a card like this doesn't give you any benefit as a Tenpai player. You know what I mean? Like, if you're playing Tenpai, your goal is not to play this long interactive game where you're able to just grind out your opponents by resetting spells and traps or whatever. Like, you can, it's just like, why would you do that? You're taking away from like the one thing your deck does that's super duper broken and just be like, yeah, I'm gonna be bad Labyrinth. Now hear me out, it's good in Runic Tenpai. I'm gonna beat you to death with a rock if you ever mention that deck again. And like, additionally, it's just like why are we doing this? But this card also has like anti-synergy with your own cards in the sense where like if you go into Bident Dragon and like use the revive effect, you can't actually summon your opponent's monsters unless they're fire dragons because you're dragon locked. Like, this shit is just so obscene. I hate it. This just does nothing for the archetype. We've done it. We've printed anti-support. But yeah, that's a bunch of the new cards. What a wonderful batch Yu-Gi-Oh is going through. I think Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of going through this phase where they're just like, yeah, this game is gonna die. We're gonna shut it down. Fuck it. Let's just print the worst cards and best cards ever imagined. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on Rage of the Abyss, and I will see you all in the next video.